my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I am one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the bad movies of yesteryear. Now, Chris, what are we going to review this week?
Well, Dave, it's a Patreon pick, and it's from our good friend Timothy. And this one is, we're going back to 1992, Dave. It is a martial arts fest of magnitude. Well, I don't know where that come from, but there you go. That sounded terrible. But it's a martial art classic, directed by John Woo, starring Chow Yun-fat, and this one is Hard Boiled. So, Dave, have you seen this before, or did you know anything about it?
So this has happened to me a couple of times recently. I thought that I'd seen this. So again, I'm going to bore you and take you back to Blockbuster Video, Chris, in the late 90s, around, was it 97, 98-ish time. So John Woo had made it across to Hollywood. Things like Face Off were being released, and, you know, you had that iconic White Doves scene, you know, with John Woo and whatever. You know, that became his sort of trademark, didn't it? And in the action section was the VHS cover of Hard Boiled, and people would say to me, "Oh, you should watch this Hard Boiled. It's amazing." And the thing is, you got that picture with Chow Yun-fat with the baby, and he's got the whole like SWAT gear type thing on, and I was like, okay, I'm not really sure, but okay, I'll give it a go at some point, but never actually did. So, but in my memory, I'm like, I'll have seen that. Now, what I'd say is, again, if I think Hong Kong movies, I think, you know, those classic real martial art movies, because this one is I'd say it's more action. There's a tiny bit of martial arts, but it's more the early genesis of what became stuff like John Wick, isn't it? You know, you can really see the influence there, with more emphasis on the guns and everything. But I want someone with like funny haircuts, like doing martial arts training in mock ancient China kind of thing. You know, to me, when I think of Hong Kong movies, I think of that. So I hadn't gone back to it, but I'm so glad I did. But we'll get into that, I'm sure. How about yourself, Chris?
Well, yeah, I you know what? I've seen part of this movie. I've not seen all of it. I know I haven't. But what's really got me going this week is John Woo. I know he's an absolute legend, you know, especially with the martial arts. And like, it rings a bell with a computer. Anyway, it rings a bell with a computer game. I'm thinking there was a game very similar. Called Stranglehold that came out in 2007. And then when I looked into it, I'm like, well, it's a direct sequel to Hard Boiled. Yep. And it stars Chow Yun-fat. I remember having it. It was basically John Woo's knockoff version of Max Payne, the Max Payne games with the bullet time. I've been watching videos this morning on it. So much so, Dave, I'm thinking I'm going to have to try and locate a copy because it come out on the PC and stuff. So I reckon I'll be able to get it on my Steam Deck. But it is basically Max Payne, but absolutely loving it. I completed it and everything. And it just, something about this, I was thinking, I watched the movie and I'm like, I'm sure that game, I couldn't remember the game at all, but then when I watched it, I was like, fucking, and it is a direct sequel. He reprises his role of you know, the detective and that, and I'm like, God, it is, yeah, it's the same. So really, I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole. You know, he plays Tequila, that's his name, Inspector Tequila, but it's really gone down a rabbit hole of like the computer game and this movie. But no, I genuinely never seen it from start to finish, and it's 2 hours long, and actually on YouTube, the full director's cut is on YouTube, which is what I watched with the subtitles, which I know I struggle with the subtitles sometimes, but we'll get into that. I don't think it matters what's really going on because it's just a massive explosion of martial arts and everything. But yeah, really, really interesting to bring me back into this world, really. But great pick as well from Timothy, I've got to say, before we even start, because just the computer game stuff brought me in. And also, we downloaded a game, I think we were talking about it on the podcast about a year ago, and I downloaded it on the PSN network, and I don't know whether it may have been before we were actually on the podcast when we have our morning chats, but was Sleeping Dogs, which is basically this movie, basically. And now I've downloaded it for the PlayStation 5, but then I've actually downloaded it for my Steam Deck, for my PC, and I've been playing it on my Steam Deck again. I remember first time round playing it, and this is basically this movie. So I was like, oh, Sleeping Dogs, I'm going to have to really get onto that, because I've sort of played a few hours, stopped, because it's GTA but with martial arts, and it's such an underrated game. It's so good. They're supposed to be possibly making a movie about it. This came out Sleeping Dogs came out in like 2010, 2011. But yeah, so it took me down. I know, well, we both love martial arts, and we haven't done a good martial arts movie for ages. So I've been on a proper computer game segment for this. But this just reminds me of like Sleeping Dogs, Stranglehold, which came after that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this one, because it's just really lit up like a bit of cinema and everything, and stuff that I'm into as well. So I've not been watching or playing for a long time.
Yeah, I was just looking. There's a long sort of play along of Stranglehold on YouTube. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It does look pretty good.
Have you not played it?
I haven't, no. I'm trying to think. Good. I mean, 2007, I was still fucking in my early days of parenthood then. Like, fucking, I wasn't sat down playing games, changing fucking shitty nappies and all sorts. So, yeah.
My daughter was 7 then, actually. She'd have been gaming by then. That's probably at the time GTA come out the next year, when Sam was like, have you turned that swearing off? And yeah, she don't have a clue. Yeah, she don't have a clue. Yeah, don't worry.
The swearing toggle option.
Yeah, the toggle off classic. And then about 4 years later, when Jordan had completed GTA 4, and even now she still plays it. She knows every street, every mission, everything. She'll just randomly go through a playthrough every 6 months of it. And then there's that moment of Sam going, you fucking liar. You absolute liar. You told me. And I'm like sniggering then, going, well, it's too late now. She's a gamer. But really bad parenting. But there you go, Dave. On Sam's part, not on mine. I was educating her on geography around New York and stuff, around Liberty City. But there you go.
And on that note, should we get into our trailer?
Let's go.
In a Hong Kong tea house, Royal Hong Kong police inspectors Tequila Yen and Benny Mac surveil a group of gun smugglers while they're making a deal. When a rival gang ambushes the deal, a fierce shootout breaks out. The gangsters are defeated, but several police officers and civilians are wounded, and Benny is killed. As revenge, Tequila executes the gangster who killed Benny rather than arrest him. He is reprimanded by the chief, who needed the executed gangster as a key witness. After a police funeral, Pang burns the personnel file of another smuggler Tequila killed, revealing him to be an undercover cop. Now, Chris, what do you reckon to the opening of this movie?
Well, as I said just before the trailer, and I say it all the time, I struggle with the subtitles. Looking at what's going on, I really struggle. But with this, it doesn't really matter. The story is acted pretty well from the get-go, but the action is phenomenal, Dave. This is like, you mentioned it last week about there wouldn't be a John Wick. I don't think there'd even be a Matrix if it wasn't for something like this, because the
Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah, the scenes, and I've got to say, Dave, just slightly off, I cannot wait for the new Daredevil. I've got to say, Punisher's back, everything. Oh my God, I cannot wait for that. But back to this is just action from the start. It is like a piss take, and it's like, you know what? How many bullets and how much action can we get on one screen in one set piece in one shot? And literally every scene has it. But I do think the story's good as well. It's even for me, who I always say I do struggle with this sort of thing with the subtitles. It didn't matter. I think the acting just says it all. You know what's going on. From the start, Chow Yun-fat's excellent in it, isn't he? He's not completely indestructible, but he's hard as nails, even when he does get a kick in a few times. But the gunplay and that, John Woo's he's on a different level, in it. When these scenes are set up like this, and I know there's been movies since then, but this definitely movies like The Matrix and that, and like you say, John Wick especially, and even Dave, which I love, and the second one's out this year, Nobody, which I absolutely love.
Oh, yeah.
That is set in the John Wick universe as well, apparently. So I cannot wait for that. But this is just an absolute template for them movies that have come afterwards. So yeah, I think Timothy's picked a great movie, and I know I'm saying it right at the start, but I was all in on this. 2 hours just flew by for me. I thought it was just set piece after set piece. It was excellent.
Yeah, and I said before that the thing that I love about the Hong Kong cinema is not necessarily a high budget thing. So most of it looks fairly low budget, and apart from the stunt people, they probably didn't spend that much money. But this, I mean, honestly, we're going back to 1992, and how many times have we done it where it's like, oh shit, how is this movie, big at the time, and like Ferris Bueller and stuff like that, 86, I'm like, fucking hell, he's a dick. And, he's not a nice person at all. And, why did we all worship him? With this, you're going back, and I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I can see why this, I feel like I'm watching this and it's pretty special. And had I been sat there watching it in 1992, I'd have felt, right, this is something different. Even right at the start, when he's got, like, I don't know what the fuck he puts in his drink. I'm assuming it's not an Alka-Seltzer. But he sort of slams his glass onto the table, and you can hear the fizz. And there's something about the cinematography, the sound design of it. It looks gorgeous. And every scene in this, it seems to be shot so well. And honestly, you say about, he's not indestructible. I don't know. There's a couple of things which I'm willing to suspend disbelief on. Basically, the unkillability of Tequila and later on Alan. But also, the fact that no one needs to reload at all. It's like you're playing a computer game, and the fact that everyone's just got infinite bullets. But it doesn't really matter. The stunts and everything, the action scenes are amazing, and it's like John Woo has watched Die Hard and said, "Hold my fucking beer." Yeah, he said, John McClane, is a badass and whatever, but he's a reluctant hero. He just ends up in this situation. Well, Tequila, he's going to get a bit pissed off. and in almost 80s style, he's just going to fucking murder the person who killed his mate, and his colleague there. So, yeah, I'm like, fucking hell. And then to almost contrast his badassery, he goes off into have a bit of a chill out session in the jazz club, and apparently John Woo was the jazz owner.
Yeah.
He was the guy there. So I was like, oh, this is a bit of a turn up which I didn't expect. But yeah, straight away from that tea house scene, I'm like, oh wow, this is something special.
Yeah, and you're right. And I did read the John Woo stuff. Apparently, Chow Yun-fat wanted John Woo in it as a mentor, didn't he? So he plays the barman in it, who's supposed to give him like bits of advice and all that. But I'm with you. I think you have to have break when you have a movie so chaotic as this, isn't there? Because there's so much going on in most of the scenes. There's acting and there's different things like with the police and that, and with his captain and all that, and it's that little bit of a trope. But once you get into with the triads, the gangsters, everything, this is like what we've done so many martial arts movies, haven't we? Like over the years, different one, good and bad. I mean, obviously, I always pick some absolute classics. You've picked some duck eggs, Dave, but we can forgive that for your choice of martial arts movies. But Snake in the Monkey's Shadow for one of them. However, this is. I mean, would you say this is up there with some of Lauren's best movies, Dave? It's
I fucking knew Lauren. Some of those later ones that I can't even remember the name of, that were just shot on a fucking handheld camera or something. It's just horrendous.
With Cynthia Rothrock, the one that's the New York one that I fucking picked. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
When they were on scooters or something, running at the same pace as them or whatever. It was terrible.
Although Tiger Claws 3 was a bit special.
Oh, what a movie.
What was it? What was his name? Justin Goodenough or something?
Yeah, he was having a dream. It was all a dream, wasn't it, at the end? It was fucking ridiculous, Bobby Ewing. But no, in all seriousness, this is like peak martial arts movie, isn't it? This is like everything is so well choreographed really well. I think like the art style, the cinematography of it all is just so excellent. Like you read the trivia, the hospital scene, like 40 days to film, and a lot of this had to be done in one take. And then even like when one scene finished, they'd have like the production running on and having to like the elevator scene make the floor look like it's a different floor. They had 20 seconds to clean it up in between like them opening and stuff. It's like, the fuck did they do all that? So well planned and clever. And like you said, it had a $4 million budget. So to do that with such a small budget, it takes a lot of hard work from people on the set. So I think I have a real like appreciation of this movie and what they did and what they achieved as well. Because 2 hours in a martial arts movie, Dave, is a long time, innit? It's a long time to keep you engaged. And like you say, the jazz scenes and stuff, you've got to go with it. But yeah, this is like top tier martial arts movie for me. I think it's like one of the best I've ever seen, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm throwing it out there now. I just think the story doesn't mean a lot to me. I follow it, I get it, and the Stranglehold game helped, and knowing that like you're in this world, and it felt so familiar at the start. But then just going with what's going on, it is a great movie. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'd say is the opening tea house scene introduces you to the characters, and like I said about the cinematography, it looks amazing. But also what I'd say is that maybe it could have been trimmed down a little bit. I think I was starting to feel a little bit of the pace, around the middle section of this movie. And obviously, I'll certainly, there's no doubt I'll be watching this again, and maybe I'll change my mind a bit. When I try and show my kids like fucking New Hope or something, this is boring. I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Because every beat and every scene, and or how all the story connects together. But it was just how I felt in the middle of this movie. But Jesus Christ, when you get to that last 40 or so minutes, the action is just unbelievable. And I think, to be honest, as good as the first half of it is, the second half is what propels this, I think, into its legendary cult status that it's got. You know, like I say, I remembered people recommending it to me, and I just didn't have time. I didn't prioritize it or whatever. But it's the end scene. But the interplay, because when you, I mean, if it was real life, I think Tequila would have been killed many times over before that end scene. But the interplay, and you see Alan's character, and I didn't know where that was going to go.
Yeah.
He's obviously undercover, but I mean, he's liberally killing a few people as well. I mean, you could say they're gangsters, but I think that must be a tricky thing. And I always feel that anxiety, Chris, when I'm watching something like this and someone's undercover and then you see them. There's one bit where, like, potentially he could kill Tequila, he convinces his boss, no, it's fine, we'll let him live or whatever. And you're like, oh, these real uncomfortable moments where you're like, what would you do in that situation? You can't blow your cover, but also, you're still a cop at the end of the day. So, but I wasn't sure if he was going to go, completely full gangster or what was going to happen.
It's weird because I think because of the subtitles, I must admit, that's the only thing that I struggled with Alan's character, because I didn't understand it myself. Even though you're watching all this action and and like you say, you're right. There's a lot of acting. There's a lot of scenes where, like, in the police station with the captain, there's different scenarios. They're building up this world. So there is probably some bits that I'll be honest, I probably have missed slightly, but I was all for the action. I was all for, like, everything about the set pieces of the movie, like that bit, Dave, when they're on the bikes and he comes into the warehouse and he just does this. He slides down and does a pirouette and just takes out about 20 people, and then a bike just jumps through into the back of a truck and squashes that guy. And then for some reason, there's nobody in front of him, and then he just kills someone in the head. I'm like, just everything about it. And then you've got people like looking at the camera, like Avengers when Endgame, when they're all talking at the end, when they're all like, oh, it's great to see you again, Spider-Man. And it's like, hang on, Thanos ready to kill everyone, and everyone's fucking like patting each other on the back, while they're fighting around them. And there's scenes like that, and there's a guy with a cigarette, he's like just dead chill. The gangster guy's like, yeah, whatever. And they put these hundreds of bullets, and not one of the baddies or anything gets a bullet in him, do they? It is that silliness. You're right. There is a plot armor with Tequila, but you can't have a name like Tequila, Dave, and get killed. I'm sorry. Tequila's a fucking great name for a detective. It is. It is. And maybe that's for the Western audience as well. I understand that, but you'll never forget Detective Tequila. And I think, I'm saying it as a martial arts movie. It is the gung fu stuff in it. The whole movie is about. It's almost like the dance sequences sometimes. The set pieces are the sequences, aren't they? It's all done so well and shot so well, but like there's real like beats to everything they do in these scenes, isn't there? It's so well thought out. There's not like I'm joking about like Lauren Avedon that, but you watch some of their movies and it's literally he's just got to do the same, like a Van Damme movie. He's got to do the same set of shots, and Van Damme at some point has to stand there and be so annoyed, like he does in Death Warrant or whatever, like in Bloodsport, where he's blind and do the full muscle up thing, doesn't he? Like, and then he fucking grabs a hand or he grabs a leg or something and takes it out, and he's got to do the pirouette kicks and everything. Whereas in this, it feels like the moves have got a meaning to the movie. It just flows through, I think. And that's what I like. It's an action movie more than it's a martial arts movie at all. Like I said, we said really, there isn't a lot of martial arts, but it's sort of the gunplay, everything is so well put together. And I think I've been playing the Yakuza games recently, Dave, as well. Never really played them. And that's like the triads and everything. And again, probably taking inspiration from this movie, very similar. Obviously, it's like when we watch, as people into the gangster movies, like The Godfather and that, and even when you watch other gangster movies, it's the same concept, isn't it? The Kingpin, everything with the triads. It's so energetic and everything, like the way they attack each other and everything. And I think with this, they don't play up to the cliches as well. It's not just like someone who is absolutely nails, as in knows martial arts. This is about the guns. It's about everything else that goes in it as well. So it's a bit more real, even though it's over the top John Wick style as well.
Yeah, and of course you mentioned Jean-Claude Van Damme. He went on to do Hard Target, John Woo, didn't he? After this, that was his first Hollywood movie, I think. But we talked about Tequila and Alan. They end up teaming up, I would say, past the halfway point, getting towards the end of the movie. Again, I didn't timestamp it, but it feels like, past the halfway point it was. But we always say, a goodie needs a good baddie to go against. Now, you've got several baddies, haven't you, with the triads and whatever. But Chris, I fucking love this Mad Dog guy, the guy with the patch, because you talk about nails. He was fucking nails. When you get Tequila and Alan going up against him, like you say, with the old gun fu sort of stuff, like, they don't get the better of him. He kicks their ass pretty much. And it's only later on, when you're in the hospital, actually, they don't have this big Hollywood showdown. He ends up just, he makes a stand against, his boss, essentially, because he ends up killing him because they've killed all these innocent people. So he's a badass. He's a henchman, pretty much. But I think what a great character. And I think for me, he was the baddie who stood out, and I thought was a bit of a legend in this film.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We always talk about it, don't we? Like, you can have this, it's the Superman thing, isn't it? Like everyone always says with Superman, like, yeah, his greatest enemy is Lex Luthor, but he's the cunning and all that. You never feel he's in jeopardy other than like with General Zod and stuff like that. But with this, he is probably more focal than Tequila, isn't he? He's more important because you've got all these guns going off. You've got so many, and like you say, the hospital scene's fantastic as well. Like the way, I love the bit where they drop all the nurses and that down, and then he's behind with the shotgun, and they're all there, aren't they? And that's when it takes off. Then it's this whole like mass of destruction, bullets. There must be thousands of bullets. I mean, I read there was 307 deaths in this day. That's the body count, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable when you're watching it. But I think you're right. Like, Mad Dog is just horrible, isn't he? And you need that. You can't just have Tequila who's just taking everyone out. And it's like the Jack Reacher, the new series. I've really enjoyed the first two series on Prime. Really enjoyed him. Alan Rickson's great. But he's like got the best armor you've ever seen. He's totally indestructible. Whereas in this new one, there's a guy there who's over 7 foot, who's fucking massive, and gives him a kicking. And you sort of need that, don't you, to bring him down to earth. You can't just be an absolute killing machine. It doesn't make any difference. You can throw 100 people at him, but if the movie dictates that they are basically the Terminator, they're taking everyone out. And I think that's what I like about this, is like, they don't just win the day, do they? And I don't feel sorry for Mad Dog, but it's one of them where you're like, if there was ever going to be a sequel, he would have been the one you would definitely have thought, yeah, there had to be. Well, there was obviously in the computer game, but yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It is legendary. And the patch and everything's really good. It's not like a bloody pirate patch. There's a reason he's got a patch. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and obviously, unfortunately, wouldn't make the sequel after he got killed. But
well, no, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Terminator.
No, but I'm saying, like, that's who you would want, wouldn't you? Someone even worse, like, Mad Dog's brother takes revenge. That's the play, isn't it?
Oh, I'd watch a prequel.
Yes.
If they did a prequel of Mad Dog, I'm sort of interested in his backstory there. But what I'd also say, I mean, it's going to be hard, like I say, not to just talk about that last 40 minutes or so, because I don't think you've never seen something like this, the level of the stunts. And like you say, with the turnaround, the fact that when they go in the lift, and they basically redo the whole set to make it look like another floor. And you're like, it must take such unbelievable coordination to do that. And so many people, I just don't think you would ever have anything like that in Hollywood. And especially now with CGI, they'd cheat with a lot of it, wouldn't they? And all of this being practical effects, it just gives it that authenticity that I've absolutely loved. And even if I didn't have time to watch the whole film again, I think tempted to just go through that final scene, a few times and just rewatch. But I think the other thing that I don't think you'd see, and maybe if I was to be critical for a second, I think when they're lowering the babies down,
yes,
I think you get a real sense of dread, don't you? I mean, I think that's one of the reasons the babies are sort of there to, give that additional weight, emotional weight to that feeling of dread, But it seems to happen over and over again where they're lowering babies down and someone pops out of a window and shoots them and they're like, oh, guys, you got to fucking drop the baby. It seems to happen like 3 times or something. I don't think I need to keep seeing that. But, that's the only thing I could think that maybe they could have trimmed that out. You only need to see that once. Okay, I get it. But no, I did think it was good. And then obviously Tequila, he's got his own little baby that's singing lullabies too while he's busy shooting people. Baby gets splattered with blood and everything. There's just so many things that I love about this, which, again, you just wouldn't get in a Hollywood movie. And we do need to go back and do stuff like Face Off, don't we? But, I feel in my memory it's kind of a watered down version of this.
Yeah, I'm with you know what though as well, and I'm reading the trivia. You said about the baby thing. That bit when he's running down the hallway, did you read that? Where John Woo wasn't happy with the first take because he felt like the explosions when he's carrying the baby down the corridor was too far away. So he ended up sitting in the special effects booth and manually pressing the buttons. But Chow Yun-fat was shitting himself because they were so close. So when he's running, it's a genuine run of despair because he thought he was going to get taken out by some of the pyros and stuff because John Woo's like, no, and he really played it on. But then again, Dave, we're watching this movie. It's all been dead serious. But what also saves Tequila when he's got the baby because his pants are on fire is the baby's pee. I mean, where did that come from for a movie so serious? And then he's looking at the baby peeing down his leg, and he's like, "Yeah, your pee saved me," and then jumps out the window with the fucking internet, well, not the internet cables, the fucking phone lines or something like his Tarzan or something. That is where I must admit that's when the proper like invincibility of Tequila kicks in, doesn't it? But yeah, I did think that was a bit silly, the peeing bit, because it was like that's just come from nowhere. That.
Yeah, you're saying about John Woo being the one in control of all the pyrotechnics and everything, but that's another thing why you wouldn't have a movie like this in Hollywood. They also have health and safety.
Yeah, even in the early 90s. Yeah, that's true, actually, Dave. That's very true. But I think, do you not think, though, watching like even the scene exploding and, like you say, the John Wick, but the Matrix stuff, the whole scene when Neo goes to rescue Morpheus, isn't he? And he's there anyway, Trinity and everything, and that whole famous scene. I know she sprains her ankle, but the flip and the walls are exploding and everything. I think that's just like this. That's a proper nod to this movie because there's just so many practical effects. It's brilliant, honestly, so well put together.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to rewatch Matrix again pretty soon because I 100%. It has absolutely influenced the Matrix, this movie has, and I think it might make me look at things a little bit differently again for things that have come after this. Like say you've had I love Commando, right? We always talk about John Matrix and whatever, but the level of stunts, you got Arnie in the middle of a field with his massive fucking machine gun, but the way everyone goes down, it's like in the A-Team or something. The camera work is in this movie, it's just a different level, and it just everything about it just feels quite different. And again, when action movies are shot now, if you watch a Statham movie or something like that, you've got a lot of quick cuts, haven't you? The editing is like a shot from this side, then a shot from this side, then a shot from that side. Whereas this one, all those longer takes, again, and they've had one chance to do it. You think, how many times must they have practiced this, to make sure every single person on that set, and there were a lot of people, all knew their job to make this scene look great. And so, yeah, I just think it's a mastery of action. And again, I think there might be other stuff that I'm not aware of, but this feels different for stuff that we've watched in the late 80s and early 90s. This feels like a change. And then we were just talking about The Matrix, but I'm sure there's other things as well where it's just that over the top, a million bullets a gun type of approach. And, I just feel like it's probably changed the game quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think like putting it together in such a way that is legendary. Obviously, Timothy's picked this. It must be one of his favourite films. And it is a movie, Dave. It's funny because watching it for the first time, and I know it's not our usual, we're taking the piss and everything, but this has been talked about so many times when you watch like martial arts movies, aren't they? Best of, what are the top 10 or whatever. They always gets a mention for this, even if it's not in the top 10, which I think it should be. I think it's a great movie, but I do feel that it almost feels like when you would watch, like, say, the Bruce Lee movies and that, like from the early 70s, that was like so iconic. It spawned an absolute whole industry of movies, didn't it, from there, good and bad. This feels like almost like this should have been from that time. It's like, I don't know, it feels iconic when you're watching it. It feels like I feel like I've missed out watching this first time round, I really do. And I don't say that very often, but I do really feel like I should have watched this before because of The Matrix, because of John Wick, all these movies that have come afterwards. And obviously The Matrix was 98 or 99, and it's like, yeah, I get that. Yeah. So, but then you've got all these other movies that have come since, and the Kung Fu stuff. But even when we did Equilibrium, the Equilibrium must have taken some things out of that. Christian Bale, I know, I love that movie, but there's so many things about it. The whole choreography, the moves, it's like a dance when they're shooting some of the scenes. Yeah, honestly, it's a great movie, this.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Chris, should we get into our final review?
Let's go. So, Dave, great pick from Timothy. Thank you again for picking this movie. I've really, really enjoyed it, as I've said. I think it's just excellent. I think it's such a good movie. I don't think I'm going to put it to the top, though, Dave, and not any reason. I just think I will watch it again. I can't say it's in one of my favourite movies ever, but it's an excellent movie. So I'm going to put it in Pleasantville. The choreography, the fighting, everything about it, the shooting is just next level. The stunts, everything about it is excellent. So I definitely recommend it, but I'm going to put it in Pleasantville, I think. So what about yourself, Dave?
You know what? I was umming and ahhing about Pleasantville or Cloud City, and I wasn't really sure because, again, I kind of felt a lull in the middle of the movie there. But given that I've just watched it the once, I will definitely rewatch it again. And as we've been talking through it, I'm thinking, no, I think for this level, for the influence that I think this has had on cinema, I think it's got to be a Cloud City. I might change my mind, right? I might downgrade it, but I've got a feeling that on multiple rewatches, I think I'll appreciate it more and more. And so, yeah, I think it's an amazing movie. The action is off the scale good. I just think it's a great movie. I think the acting performances as well, I think are really good. So yeah, Cloud City for me.
Good stuff, Dave. Good stuff. And you know what? I might reconsider at some point. Go, you know what? I was actually wrong, but yeah, it's a great movie. There's no doubt about it. And just seeing the influence it's had on cinema afterwards that's a testament to John Woo as well, because you know what you're getting with his movies. So, Dave, we have a Patreon pick for next week. Now, this one is a movie I've never seen. I must admit, this one's from our good friend Dylan, and I'm not sure what to expect because I've always saw the name and thought it's a fucking hunting movie, and I'm really not into that. Like, what is it? Is it like Deliverance? So I don't know. I don't even know now what it is, but I know that it's an iconic movie, and I believe it's a long one as well. So that'll be interesting. So how watch it whether watch it in 1 or 2 stages. But Dave, we're going back to 1978, the year I was born, so 46 years ago. This one stars Mr. Robert De Niro, Dave. This one is The Deer Hunter. So let's get into the trailer.
What are you thinking of going deer hunting tonight? Or not tonight? I'm getting married tonight. You guys are going deer hunting?
Also, it is a hunting movie.
Robert De Niro
I think there's a bit of that.
is the deer hunter.
In the name. I know. It's just...
It's about being a hunter.
He shot the deer, took it home, ate it.
the end.
The end.
Being a leader.
It's a lovely
From now on, you're on your own.
It's about being a soldier.
Well, what's it like over there?
It's about being a hero.
One shot. One shot is what it's all about. Deer has to be taken with one shot. I try to tell people that. They don't listen.
It's about being a man. Robert De Niro, the deer hunter.
There's a lot of Vietnam stuff in there.
Don't leave me over there. You just don't leave me. You gotta promise me that, Mike.
Serious watch.
Nice. You gotta promise. Definitely. Hey, Nicky. Huh? You got it, man. You got it.
Oh, Michael!
You hear anything about Nick?
He's AWOL, that's all we know. Okay, what do you like to call me now?
Could be back.
Linda?
Linda, I just want to say how sorry I am about Nick. Champagne glass. No. When a man say no to champagne, say no to life.
Can't we just comfort each other?
No, I can't. I gotta get out. What are you doing? What's the matter with you? It's Mike.
De Niro.
What's the matter with you? It's Mike. Don't you recognize me? Don't you recognize me? Tell me it's Mike. Tell me it's Mike. I came 12,000 miles back here to get you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Nicky, I love you. You're my friend. Don't do this to me. One shot.
Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep,
Interesting how the trailer gives away the whole
John Cazale,
finale.
Robert De Niro.
That's literally, isn't it?
Robert De Niro,
I don't know
The
what
Deer
to
Hunter.
expect. Really
A film
don't. Interesting
by Michael
movie, Dave.
Cimino.
And an iconic one as well.
It is iconic. We have said, haven't we? You know, we probably have a library of 70s movies. These iconic movies that we haven't seen. It just wasn't really in our demographic. You know, we like say you were born in 78. I was born a couple of years before, but I wasn't really thirsting in the early 80s to watch The Deer Hunter. You know, 3 hours of an epic war drama. So.
Yeah, I'm wondering how I'm going to go now, 46 years later, but it's going to be interesting. Totally different sort of movie as well.
Yeah.
Going to be good.
It'll be interesting next week.
Yeah, it could be a classic. So anyway, massive thank you to everyone as always. Big thank you to Timothy today. I do appreciate you picking this one. It's a classic, hard boiled. And then next week, with Dylan, I don't know what to expect, so yeah, let's see. But if you do want to support us, please get over to patreon.com/the VHS Strikes Back. If you want to email us, the VHS Strike Back @gmail.com. And if you want to follow us on social media @VHS Strikes Back. So the roll call of honour and a big thank you to Gareth, Mike, Lee, Helen, Dylan, Dan, Justin, Susan, Timothy, Matt, Hales, Kent, Lucky Lulu Green, Herbs, Jack, Math, Blake, John Hammond, and Mr. Tony Farina. So thank you so much, guys. Amazing support. We really appreciate it. And I mean, you can't even say it's the year of the Stitch Up with Hard Boiled Day. So maybe the Deer Hunter's part of the year of the Stitch Up, but I don't think it will be looking at the trailer.
Yeah, I obviously broke the mold a little bit with the year of the stitch up, but I tell you what, Chris, it's refreshing to go back and watch a movie that we hadn't seen, but rate so highly. So yeah, it's been a great week. But Chris, for our little musical number here, I was struggling a bit to think, where should I approach this one from? And I thought, well, 92, there was quite an iconic, very different song that came out that had quite a big impression on me, and that was House of Pain, Jump Around, which I still listen to and love now. We used to play in the band, didn't we? I think I probably enjoyed it more than most of the people in the band. I wasn't sure anyone else enjoyed playing that one, but I just love the beat to it. It was so different, like the energy to it. So I kind of approached this hard-boiled in the same way. So here we go.
Oh, I like that, Dave.
That's good, isn't it? You got to jump.
Baseline and everything, yeah. Off a bit. Back it up, back it in, let me begin. Yeah. I know all the words to that, Dave.
I got bags, but I don't know why, cause I can shoot first and live and let die. Love for home, what just a tape will do now. Tell each other, look, Andrew, get the fuck out. Trying to be bullets, they jumped on the van. Jumping through the air like a mean rock band. Never reloading, never taking. I'm playing pop, man, this job is insane.
It is more insane in the membrane, isn't it? Yeah.
Same oil, hot boil, hot spoon. No need to aim, but my guns are loyal. On the console long, I forgot my address. My boss keeps yelling, plug your coat. Yo, this ain't so easy. I'm trying, motherfucker. I shoot more than cop, I shoot more than crooks. I shoot so damn much, I can write gun books. The villain's got a plan, yeah, I really know. But here comes Tequila and I'm ready to go. Hard boil, hard slow. Clock makes no sense, but the guns ain't oil. Hard boil, hard slow. No need to aim, but the guns are oil. Oil. Should have been a lawyer instead, but you can't shoot dudes when you're eating the reds. So I just keep firing, no questions asked. Hey, look, another dub, guess it's time to blast. Hot boiled, hot spawn block makes no sense, but the guns ain't oil. Hot boiled, hot spawn, no need to aim, but my guns are loyal. On fire, I ain't too stretched. Gonna slow-mo walk when I ace the test. I saved the beat, the bag got the toast, and I still got time for a sacrifice. saxophone solo.
Very good, Dave. Very good.
Something a little bit different there. It's hard not to bop up and down, isn't it? And again,
That's what I was doing.
puts me back into that House of Pain jump around, but also Insane in the Membrane by Cypress Hill as well. I was thinking very much of that one as well. So, Chris, it's been so much fun today. Thank you very much for the pick for Hard Boiler as well. Thanks to all our listeners out there. Thanks to all our supporters, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
That's it, man. It's game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back.
That's not.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off.
Get to the chopper!
One ring to go.
All right. Ding, ding.
Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on. Come on, ain't so bad. Ain't nothing. Come on. You must be crazy or something. I'm crazy. You just a stupid fool. Maybe you crazy something. I ain't breathing heavy. He's a fool. He's stupid. I seen you in 6 months.
I must break you.